Hello everyone, welcome to today's video. Today I'm going over my top 10 candidates for the 2024 presidential election. These are people who I think are either announced they're interested in running or people I think could realistically run that I think would be some of the better options for Republicans to nominate in 2024. And also, before I move on, I'm going to mention some honorable mentions as well, but before that, please remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you are new. So, first off, some honorable mentions. My first honorable mention is former Governor KRISTI of New Jersey. He ran for president in 2016. However, following all the Bridgegate stuff back in 2013 and 2014, his popularity was really taking a hit, and he ran in 2016 and didn't do all that well. So, he's a potential honorable mention. He also was announced, I believe he's interested in running in 2024. Donald Trump Jr. is another honorable mention. He's someone that I don't really see running. If Donald Trump, the father, decides not to run, maybe he may decide, but I don't really see that as happening too much. Rand Paul, senator from Kentucky, is another person who is, I think, contingent on if Donald Trump decides to run or not. He'd be a very interesting candidate and someone who could potentially do well in a general election, but getting through the primary may be very hard for him. And lastly, Representative Liz Cheney. She is someone that, if the Republican Party really goes full 100% anti-Trump, she may have the best claim out of anyone to go up against Trump. And yeah, it's something to keep an eye on because she hasn't ruled out a 2024 bid as well. So getting into it, number 10, we have Mitt Romney. So Mitt Romney, who's a current senator from Utah, he was the 2012 Republican nominee for the president. And I mentioned Liz Cheney, but I don't think anyone has been more vocal about being anti-Trump than Mitt Romney. So if the Republican Party decides they really don't want Trump, Mitt Romney will be maybe one of the best people that are anti-Trump out of any Republican. However, this also raises the issue of Romney has run before. He's been rejected at the national level a few times now, so he's kind of built up this mentality of not doing too well in a general election. Electability, I think, would be a concern. I only have him at about 38%, which means it is possible he could win, but they would really need a terrible Democratic candidate to even make it close. Number 9, we have Josh Hawley. Josh Hawley is a Missouri senator. He's only been in the Senate for a little while, but he's already made a very big impression among Republicans. He has very strong stances on censorship and going after the big tech, which is a very popular issue among a lot of Republicans. And he's actually someone who I did my first YouTube video on back in 2018, predicting he would beat Claire McCaskill. So, yeah, and Josh Hawley I think would be a good candidate. The only problem with him is he's still very young, and there's a lot of other Republican candidates who are a little older up. So maybe Josh Hawley may be someone who's better for, say, 2028 or 2032, or maybe a potential vice presidential candidate. However, electability, I have him at 47%. He is someone that I think could get a lot of the Trump MAGA base. I don't know if he'd be able to win a ton of independents or in suburban voters, but I think he'd do better than, say, a few other candidates. But I think Hawley would be good for 2028, maybe not 2024 just yet. Number 8, we have Senator Tim Scott. Tim Scott is a senator from South Carolina. He has become very, very popular on the right in the Republican Party. Him being African American could certainly lead to some appeal in some urban areas, especially in states like Georgia that have been starting to trend a little more to the left that voted for Biden. He could be a big help in trying to win these back. The only problem for him is it's likely that, say, some other candidates may get more national attention than him, so maybe he may be a better option as a VP rather than the nominee. However, Tim Scott, if he were the nominee, I think he'd be a very good candidate and very electable at 50%. Someone who maybe the Democratic nominee may not even matter. He may have a pretty good shot at winning. But Tim Scott is definitely someone to keep an eye on. Number 7, we have Marco Rubio. He is a senator from Florida. He ran for president in 2016. And he didn't do incredibly well, but yeah, he was supposed to finish, I think, in 3rd. He ended up, I believe, in 4th or 5th place. So Rubio was someone who was still young, so we still got plenty of time. In the debates in the primary in 2016, he kind of got this reputation of just kind of being not really spineless, but not really have a ton of information, just kind of talking points. There's a clip of KRISTI going after him, and that still has kind of haunted Rubio in terms of national implications to this day. But I think Rubio would be a pretty good candidate for 2028 and 2032, kind of like Josh Hawley. And Rubio would be a good VP candidate, but for 2024, I don't see him being one of the better nominees for the Republican Party. Electability of 48%, though. I think he's still a pretty likable guy who could probably win a national election if given the chance. Number 6, we have South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem. She is one of the first opportunities Republicans have to nominate a woman and have the first Republican woman nominee. Her approval rating has taken a hit, among some Republicans following the whole situation going on with this year and some other states' issues and policies that some Republicans have not liked with her. I'm not going to get into too much specifics because that would take a while, but yeah, so her approval has taken a hit a little bit, but she would still be a pretty strong national candidate. Again, being a woman, she may be able to get some women and suburban votes. However, I wouldn't bank on that being too much of a possibility. She is, again, another opportunity of being a pretty good vice presidential candidate, but I'm not sure how she would be as the nominee itself, but she's definitely, I think, in the stronger tier of candidates for 2024. Number 5, we have Texas Senator Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz is, I would say, one of the stronger Republican candidates. He finished second in 2016 GOP primary. Republican primaries traditionally where who can run farther to the right has a shot at winning the nomination. And Ted Cruz, I think, would be a very good shot at that. The only problem is he actually may be too conservative for a national election electorate, which means is he electable? I don't know. I only have his electability at 43% because I think he would do well in a lot of the more conservative states. He would probably be even more conservative than, say, Donald Trump or some of the other leading candidates. But when it comes to swing states and places like Arizona and Georgia and even his home state of Texas, where he only narrowly won in 2018, the electability issue is a concern for Ted Cruz. But if Republicans want someone who isn't Trump, but someone who is very, very conservative, Ted Cruz is, I think, the right way to go for the Republicans. Number 4, we have Mike Pence. So Mike Pence was the vice president for Donald Trump from 2017 to 2021. And he won in 2016, lost 2020. Many Trump supporters are angry at Mike Pence following the whole situation with January 6th. So after the after the vice presidential debate, it was looking like Mike Pence would be the heir apparent to Donald Trump in the Republican primary. And most polls showed that as well. But the January 6th situation certainly tanked that. And it's more likely than not that Mike Pence's political career may be over, especially on a national stage. Even if he does decide to run for president, I think if he runs, it's very likely we'll see Trump just run out of spite, maybe. So, and Mike Pence also raises this question, similar to Ted Cruz, of would he be too conservative and too religiously strong-minded for a national electorate? So it's a question to keep in mind. Electability at 45%. I don't think he would do too well in a lot of swing states. He would just be a very solid Republican who will win the traditional Republican states, but then maybe perform like Mitt Romney in some swing states. So now we get into the top 3. In number 3, I have Nikki Haley. Nikki Haley is the former South Carolina governor. She was the ambassador to the UN under Donald Trump. And in most polling, in early GOP polling, she polls between 3rd and 4th place. So she starts off with a pretty strong standing. Similar to Kristi Noem, she is a chance for the Republicans to nominate a woman. And Nikki Haley, I think, is one of the more electable candidates Republicans can have. Her biggest problem would be getting through the primary, where there may be other candidates who I would say are more exciting or are more memeable or get the message out there better. If she could get to a general election against, say, Joe Biden or Kamala Harris, I think she would have a much easier time at winning than some of the other candidates I've already mentioned. But nevertheless, Nikki Haley would be a strong 2024 Republican candidate. Number 2, I have the former president of the United States, Donald Trump. Donald Trump won the Republican primary in 2016 and the general election in 2016 and then lost in the 2020 election. Everyone knows who Donald Trump is. He is a political wrecking ball. He doesn't care how he says things. He says what he means, and that is something that a lot of Republican voters to this day really like and really appreciate it, as he often polls very high in Republican primary polling. He's usually either in first place if he is running in the poll. If he is not running, his influence is massive over the Republican Party. If Donald Trump announces he's running, he's pretty much got the nomination on lock, and that would likely clear the field. However, the biggest problem with Donald Trump is, as I mentioned, everyone knows who he is, and that he is a very polarizing figure amongst Republicans and Democrats. He'll probably bring out the most Republican voters. He'll also bring out the most Democratic voters. So it's kind of like you get the good and the evil with Trump as the nominee. But nevertheless, he did win in 2016. There are some polls starting to come out now saying if it was Trump versus Biden again. Trump has been doing pretty well in those polls, so that's something certainly to keep an eye on. Electability, I give it 55%, as in I think Trump would do very well in the primary, and Trump may be able to do better in swing states like Wisconsin and Pennsylvania. But Trump losing Arizona and Georgia is something that cannot be ignored as Republicans move into 2024. And lastly, number one, my top candidate for 2024 for the Republicans is Governor Ron Desantis of Florida. Ron Desantis has received a ton of media attention lately, and you can already see a lot of the attacks and smear campaigns going against him right now, which to me signals that the media and the Democrats are scared because they know Ron DeSantis is the best and most electable candidate in 2024 for the Republicans. He's polling either number one when Donald Trump is not in the poll or number two when Trump is, but it's still not that far behind. His policies are very similar to Trump's, but he's not as blunt and not as, I would say, and not as in-your-face and polarizing as Trump is, which may be the perfect medium for Republicans who like Trump's policies but not his persona. Ron DeSantis, I think, is the best Republican who I think would beat Joe Biden and Kamala Harris in 2024, and I will stand by that up until Election Day when the voters either confirm or deny my theory on that. But I think Ron DeSantis is the best Republican candidate, and I think if Republicans really want to win in 2024, he is the person Republicans should nominate. So that's going to do it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Make sure you also tap the bell icon next to the subscribe button so you get notified when I post a new video. And to all my returning viewers and subscribers, thank you so much for watching another one of my videos. I really appreciate it. And yeah, that'll do it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.